So in TJ's The Amazing Atheist latest video, he said something again, and I really want to try and understand where TJ is coming from, because he always says, oh, we've got to offer a better future and a better solution. And one of the things he says, oh, we need to stop saber-rattling with Russia. But my question is to TJ then, if we are to stop saber-rattling with Russia, how are we to deal with Russia? I'd like to remind TJ, at the moment, Russia has annexed part of another country, which is flat out illegal and is currently occupying it, is very, very strong evidence that Russia is sending its own troops and military equipment into Ukraine to support rebels, because miraculously Russian soldiers are dying. We don't know what's killing them, but the only conflict where they can be, and a lot of them have given off indications that yes, they were in the Ukraine fighting against the Ukraine forces trying to get rid of these rebels. Now, if you want to more in depth into that situation about what's going on in the Ukraine, then I recommend the documentary Winter on Fire. That lays the background of eventually what happened, and that the annexing of the Crimea and this, civil war. The third thing is you've got to look at Syria. Look, the people of Syria rose up against Assad, and they said, we do not want you as our president anymore. We want free, fair and open elections. Assad said no, and then he turned the military on them. And protesters were shot, and this is where the current situation is in Syria. Are we meant to not help the people of Syria if they do generally want a democracy? Should we then not be putting sanctions on Assad to pressure him to step down and to open up the negotiating floor, that the Syrian people can have free and fair open elections? Or should we back Putin, who is just bombing anywhere indiscriminately, hospitals, known civilian locations, because he's propping up at this point a dictator who has shot and killed protesters? So I have to re-ask this question of TJ. If we aren't meant to stop saber-rattling with Russia, then what are we meant to do? The reason why Russia was so elated about Trump was because he'd removed the sanctions from them. Sanctions which are economically hurting them. And why are those sanctions there? They're all to do with their annexation and their involvement in the Ukraine civil war. Not only that, but then TJ, what do you do then when you've got Donald Trump saying, well, I'm either going to lower our funding for NATO or just pull out of it completely? You have other countries that are on the border with Russia who, ever since the time of Crimea, have literally been on a potential war footing because they are worried about being invaded. That is a potential worry for them. And they are looking to the United States, if they are invaded by Russia, to help protect them, because they can't stand long against a Russian invasion. What are those countries meant to do, TJ? So I agree with TJ that there needs to be this liberal alternative that liberals currently aren't offering. But you've got a situation, particularly with Russia, where saber-rattling and sanctions are potentially putting the brakes on them. So I want to know what TJ, what would President TJ do if he was president, how would he sort out Russia?